Hello, I had someone request a video about taking out a spark plug, so I'm going to start with just giving a little information on the spark plug first, and we'll go ahead and pull mine out, and I'll probably just reinstall the same one that I have in there. Okay, so when I first went out and got this bike, I actually went out and bought a spare standard plug and a hotter plug, because I knew with what they recommended to break in this bike, it was a richer fuel mixture. I was thinking I might end up fouling a plug. I didn't completely foul it, but I got quite a bit of oil on my first standard plug. This is actually that one. So it's a little black in there. And I cleaned it up and I'm using it as a spare still because it was still running okay. But since it was running a little rich with that higher fuel mixture, I went ahead and just put in the hotter plug and hoped that would work out. And I still have that hotter plug in there and it's running all right. The number for the standard plug that comes with your bike is this right here, R6252K105. And then in your manual, it says the hotter plug number is BR9EVX. I went to my local Kawasaki dealer and I gave him that number and he was having trouble, and I don't know, it acted like it was that was already discontinued or something weird. So I don't know if those are still out there, but he said this was the new one that worked as a hotter plug in a KX112 BR9EIX, and that's what I have on my bike. That's what I've been running on my bike for like the last 10 hours and it's been working good. This is a new plug. The insulator in there is nice and white. This is the first standard plug I had on there with the richer fuel mixture, and it's got carbon deposits all on it. It was pretty oily when I took it out for the first time and replaced it with the hotter plug. And the whole point of that hotter plug is they run hotter inside the bike. They stay hotter. So when you get that oil on there, or if you get carbon deposits on there, since the plug's hotter, it should hopefully burn that off more, because that insulator in there, if everything's running at a good mixture, shouldn't be super white, because that means it's too lean, too much air, and shouldn't be black or oily, because then that means it's rich and too much fuel, oil. You want it to end up looking like a toasted marshmallow color, or coffee color maybe. The one I pull out today, my hotter plug, is probably actually going to be kind of black, because it was my bike was running so rich that even the hotter plug was starting to foul a little bit. First step to getting your spark plug out of here is going to be getting this boot off the top of it. This boot is kind of shaped like a T. When I take it off, I kind of grab both sides, both top parts of the T, and pull straight up, because my hands are probably going to get in the way so you're not going to be able to see. But I pull straight up, and sometimes it's a little difficult to just pull straight up and for it to pop off. So I might wiggle it like this, like twist it just slightly side to side as I'm pulling up. So I'm pulling straight up, wiggling it side to side, and there we go. I always make sure it's pretty clean before I pull any of this stuff apart, especially this next step when you're actually going to just be twisting out your spark plug here, because you don't want anything falling inside where the hole on the top of the head here. Now I have this tool, okay, this came with like an old KX100 I have, and it works for the KX112 because they really haven't changed much over the years. So if someone has one of these or some kind of spark plug tool, awesome. Otherwise, you could get yourself a crescent wrench, make it to the size of it, and that works. I did that at the track the other day. Or if you had a socket and you could fit it up in there, or a normal wrench, it should be a 13/16 size, or should be about 21 millimeter. I would recommend, if you get a socket up in there, to use a 6-point socket, not a 12-point, just to make sure you're not stripping it out. Alright, so I'm going to use my little tool and get it up in there. Get the boot out of the way. Alright, and it's lefty-loosey, so I'm going to be pushing this towards my radiator. Just be careful, you don't want to sometimes these can be kind of tight, and if you put a lot of pressure, you know, goes flying that way, you don't want the handle to be flying into your radiator and bending this all up. There we go. Okay, broke it loose a little bit, and then I think it should be able to turn by hand. It's a little tight, but it's going. Remember, this is all clean up here, so nothing will fall in there. It's about time I probably checked this anyway. Okay, so mine is still kind of oily on the threads, but down here inside there on the insulator, it's actually starting to turn a lighter brown for me. It's actually really dry looking in there, so I think my bike is running a lot better than it was when I first was breaking it in. I changed my fuel mixture a little bit and moved my needle position 1, and the bike's been running a lot better. So I'm just going to wipe this off with a rag and then put this plug right back in because I think it's doing a good job. I apologize. I feel like this camera does not work very well at focusing close up on things, but I normally would have put this right back in my bike, but just for good practices and just so to make sure you're aware, you know, it's good to check the gap between your center electrode here and then the outer electrode. The outer electrode's the one that bends up here, and your center electrode is the pointy one in the middle coming out of your insulator. There's a lot of different gapper tools. This is the one I have. I just put it here in the beginning and slide it until it stops. So that is about 0.028. And according to the manual, this one that I'm gapping is the hotter plug, the one on the bottom. It should be 0.024 to 0.028. So it's right on the larger side of the gap. I could close the gap a little bit on it, but it still is within spec there. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put it back in. And this is something you just don't want to rush. Make sure you have the threads in the correct position and it's turning in easy. You don't want to give yourself a huge headache by cross-threading this. It should be able to easily twist in with your fingers here pretty much all the way down, and then you'll tighten it down with your wrench. I follow a lot of the torque specs and make sure things are tightened down correctly on my bike, but this honestly is one of the things I just tighten down with a normal tool to how tight I feel is good. If you want to know the torque specs, it's 25.5 Newton meters or 18.8 foot-pounds. But I just hand tighten it all the way down, get my wrench back on it, and let's see. So I go till it's pretty snug. So that's snug. And even after it gets snug there, I'll push it a little bit more. Now you just push that boot back on, and you want to make sure that it gets all the way down. I'll be quiet, and maybe we can hear it kind of click into place. Boom. You should have heard that probably on video. We'll see. Not the boom, but the click, but the click that came before the boom. So that's it. It's really easy. It's just taking off your boot, unscrewing the spark plug, screwing one back in, replacing the boot, and making sure it's pressed down all the way. If you have any questions, anything, leave them in the comments below. I'll try to get back to you. Thanks for watching.